wake up, and the first thing your hand reaches for is your phone. Before your eyes adjust to the light, you're already scrolling, already reacting, already consuming. No breath, no pause, just momentum. And somewhere in the blur between text, bubbles, and timelines, you forget. This wasn't supposed to be how it began. This wasn't the life your soul imagined. But now, you've made it routine. A routine so practiced it no longer hurts, because numbness replaced the ache. You navigate. Your days like corridors, one leading to the next, each lined with obligations you never consciously chose. The week becomes a hallway you walk just to reach the weekend. Friday is relief. Monday is dread. And everything in between is labeled real life, even though it rarely feels real. You don't collapse. You don't cry. You function. Efficiently, politely, silently. And that's the most dangerous part, because you've mistaken function for fulfillment. You've mistaken productivity for purpose. You've mistaken endurance for aliveness. But what if you're not living? What if you're rehearsing? See, you're not wasting your life because you made one big mistake. You're wasting it by default, by the slow erosion of curiosity, by the quiet sacrifice of wonder, by the constant choosing of what makes sense over what makes you come alive. And here's the part that stings. You might not even realize it until the moment to reroute has passed, until the body slows, until the windows close, until the days stop offering you another chance to begin again. Because the real danger is not failure. It's emotional neutrality. It's a life that moves forward but doesn't move you. It's a heartbeat synced to calendar alerts and to-do lists. You don't need another plan. You don't need to change your career, your partner, your address, not yet. You need a pause, a sacred one, a soul-rattling, time-distorting pause to ask the only question that matters. Is this truly mine? I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to interrupt you. I am Mr. Time Distorter, and this is the beginning of your life's most honest conversation. The comfortable trap, when fine becomes fatal. Most people don't live in crisis. They live in limbo. They don't scream. They don't fall. They float. You ask how they're doing. They say, "I'm fine." But look closer. That's not peace in their eyes. That's resignation. That's a soul whispering beneath a polished smile, "I've stopped expecting more." This is the most seductive prison of all. The life that's comfortable enough to keep you from questioning, but dull enough to slowly extinguish your fire. No sharp edges, no urgent alarms, just the slow erosion of aliveness. And it's lethal. Because rock bottom wakes you up. But fine? Fine puts you to sleep. You stop chasing awe, stop craving expansion. You stop listening to the part of you that used to rebel because the voice got tired of not being answered. Your body still moves. Your calendar still fills. But internally, you've shifted into neutral, coasting through experiences, smiling on cue, clapping at the right moments, while your spirit quietly waits for something to mean something again. Your nervous system has adapted. It's stopped sending danger signals. But that doesn't mean you're safe. It means you've stopped feeling. You've mistaken stability for vitality. You've mistaken predictability for peace. You've mistaken numbness for strength. But real peace isn't the absence of pain. It's the presence of meaning. And when meaning disappears, life doesn't shout. It just fades. The laughter becomes quieter. The colors become duller. And eventually, your days start blending together like pages in a book you're no longer reading, just flipping through. Here's the truth that hurts. You don't need to be in crisis to be in danger. Sometimes the most urgent wake-up call comes wrapped in comfort. So let me ask you, when was the last time you felt awe? The last time you woke up excited, not just rested. The last time your body felt pulled forward by something bigger than duty? If you can't remember, that's not failure. That's your signal. Because people don't wake up when they're calm. They wake up when something shakes. So let this shake you, not into fear, but into remembrance. The collapse of time. Perception. You think time is speeding up, that months blur, that years vanish before you've even processed the last one. And you're right, but it's not the clocks, it's your consciousness. See, your brain doesn't track time with numbers. It tracks time with emotion, with contrast, with novelty. When your days feel the same, when you walk the same path, answer the same emails, fight the same quiet battles, your mind stops logging those moments. They get stored as copies, not memories. So while your calendar says 365 days have passed, your body remembers 5. A trip, a heartbreak, a conversation that almost broke you, maybe one laugh that felt like flight. That's it. Because the rest wasn't lived, it was repeated. You weren't present. You were performing. You weren't awake. You were surviving. And when your life becomes a loop, your memory system gets lazy. It stops recording. And time, it doesn't stretch. It collapses. That's why a year can feel like a week. That's why the past 5 feel like a blur. Because without emotional spikes, without felt moments, your timeline becomes a fog. You think this is adulthood. You think this is maturity. But this isn't aging. This is emotional dehydration. Real time, the kind you remember, isn't measured in hours. It's measured in meaning. So if life feels like it's flying by, if you can't remember the last time you really felt, the answer isn't more planning. It's presence. It's daring to break routine. It's stepping out of the hallway of repetition and into the wildness of sensation again. Because time isn't against you. It's just waiting for you to notice it again. You know how to show up. You know how to smile on cue, how to say the right thing, how to be the version of yourself that fits the room, and you've done it so well for so long that even you started to believe it was real. But deep down, something's missing. You wear clothes that make others approve. You chase achievements that look good on paper. You show up to events you secretly dread. And when someone asks how you're doing, you say you're good. Not because it's true, but because it's easy. What you're living isn't a lie. It's a script. A well-rehearsed, culturally approved, socially rewarded performance. And the cost is aliveness. See, you're not tired because you're overworked. You're tired because you're underexpressed. You're not drained because you're doing too much. You're drained because you're doing too little of what actually lights you up. And here's the quiet truth. The longer you perform, the more distant you become from your own voice. Until one day, you wake up and don't recognize the person who's mastered the art of seeming fine. You think you'll stop performing when things settle, when you feel safer, when you're finally free. But freedom doesn't arrive. It's created. One honest choice at a time. You weren't born to impress. You were born to feel. And if you've forgotten how, it's not a failure. It's just a sign that it's time to come home. Not to a place. To a presence. The one you left behind when applause became more familiar than truth. The life audit that punches gently. You don't need a breakdown to change. Sometimes all it takes is a pause. A real one. Not the kind where you check your phone or distract yourself with tasks. The kind where you actually stop and feel. Let the noise settle. Let the pretending drop. Let the questions rise. Where am I showing up out of fear, not truth? What part of my routine feels like slow death disguised as duty? What would I cancel, quit or confront if I truly believed I still had time to live differently? These questions aren't dramatic. They're honest. And honesty is the most underrated form of self-care. Because your exhaustion isn't from doing too much. It's from carrying too much that no longer aligns. You keep showing up for versions of life you've outgrown. You keep saying yes to things that quietly erode your soul. You don't need to blow up your life, but you do need to stop pretending that tolerating is the same as thriving. The truth is, your soul is resilient, but not invincible. And every day you delay the real conversation with yourself, another piece of you fades into background noise. You don't need a radical reinvention. You need one brave admission. This isn't working. And that single moment of honesty? That's the beginning of everything. Ótimo! Vamos continuar com o subtópico 5. The story of the man who waited too long. The story of the man who waited too long. He did everything right, on paper. Built his company in his 20s. Got married, bought the house, took the vacations, earned the applause, checked every box. He didn't slow down, because slowing down felt like weakness. And in his world, only progress proved worth. But slowly, he stopped asking questions. Real ones, the kind that touch your breath and make you pause mid-sentence. He didn't notice at first. Too many meetings, too many goals, too much noise. Then one night, sitting in his car after another long day, his daughter's voice echoed in his head. "Why are you always tired when I want to play?" That one sentence pierced through years of momentum. Because the answer, the real one, wasn't about work or deadlines. It was about how far he had drifted from himself. So he did something radical. He stopped, canceled projects, took a month off, sat in silence without a plan. And in that silence, the pain arrived. Not pain from what he lost, but from what he never gave himself permission to feel. He cried for the parts of himself he had abandoned, for the creativity he buried under, duty, for the connection he traded for status. He didn't need a new strategy. He needed to face the cost of postponing his truth. This man didn't burn out. He wore out the version of himself that was never real to begin with. And when the month ended, he returned. Same job, same family, but a different man. Because once you look in the mirror long enough, you stop pretending the mask is your face. Close. Your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself, old but lucid, not frail, but still, sitting in a quiet room surrounded by years that have passed faster than expected. Someone places a device in your hand. It plays 2 films. The first, the life you lived, every decision made out of fear, every silence that hid your truth, every moment you dismissed as unimportant, the smiles that weren't real, the work that paid but didn't feed your spirit, the routine that dulled you. Then the second begins. This one? It's not fantasy. It's the version that was always available. If you had interrupted the script, you see yourself choosing differently, saying no sooner, saying yes louder, laughing more, pausing longer, loving deeper. You see your days not as repetitions but as symphonies, some chaotic, some soft, but all alive. And in the silence that follows the 2 films, there's one question, simple, undeniable. What am I still willing to change? While I can? This is not meant to haunt you. It's meant to free you, because you're not watching these films at the end. You're watching them now. You are not at the last page. You are mid-sentence. You still hold the pen. Time has not run out, but it is running, and the image you'll carry into the future is being shaped now. Not by the big moments, but by the quiet ones when you decide to live fully instead of just surviving politely. You don't have to rewrite your entire life. You just have to refuse to keep rereading a chapter that doesn't feel like home. You don't need to burn it all down. You don't need to move to another country, change your name, or find a brand new mission. You just need to pause. Long enough to feel what your body has been trying to tell you. Long enough to admit that fine is not enough. Long enough to remember that this one brief, trembling, glorious life was not meant to be survived silently. It was meant to be inhabited, with presence, with risk, with moments so vivid they leave a mark on your memory, not just your calendar. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to stop pretending that you're okay with a version of life that you know doesn't fit you anymore. You don't need more tools, more tips, or another 5-step plan. You need to return to yourself, the one before the world taught you to perform, the one who still knows what lights you up, the one who remembers. This isn't urgency for the sake of speed, it's urgency for the sake of meaning. Your life is still yours, but not forever, and if this stirred something, not fear, but recognition, that's not coincidence. That's you remembering what matters. Subscribe, not to me, but to the part of you that just woke up. I am the time distorter, and I will be here, every time. You forget how sacred it is to be fully alive.